Hello everybody, this is The Last Raider, and we are back with another video. And this is going to be a video responding to a Variety article with Emilia Clarkes, because I'm about to blow the entire argument out of the water that there has been some sort of push to keep girls out of comic books. I'm about to take that entire argument and destroy it here with this one video. Those of you who don't believe it's going to happen, just watch the video. And I'm also going to put some of the stuff that I have in this video up on Twitter for anyone who wants to, take a look at it. Go check out my Twitter handle at The Last Raider. And you'll get to see some of the evidence that I have here. I'm going to put this up on the internet. So be sure to, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. But also, check out the Twitter link I'm going to put in the description, because you can go out there, take a look at what I'm going to put on the internet, and then, you can push that a little bit more to give you some ammunition if you ever need it. But we're going to start right here with a Variety article. As a kid in London, Emilia Clarkes got a distinct vibe from her local comic book shop. No girls allowed. And this is the argument that's being pushed by feminists and SJWs. They're trying to say they're doing some sort of great work by making the industry more female-centric. I'm going to show you where way on back before even 2017 or even the Me Too movement that is not the case. I have evidence of it. It's kind of unusual evidence, but it's evidence nonetheless. But continuing on. The Emmy nominee and lead of HBO's pop culture juggernaut, Game of Thrones, was therefore doomed to spend her adolescence reading hand-me-down comics from her older brother and meeting Cape Crusaders on the big screen, she said. I had a lot of fantasy novels full of rich worlds as a child, like The Lord of the Rings. That was always the place my imagination would gravitate towards. Later on, when I went to Comic-Con for the first time at 22 with the Game of Thrones, I was amazed at what I saw, almost entirely men. Later, as the tides turned in the industry and the Me Too movement emerged, I began to look at the community through those eyes, and it was arresting, she said. Now, I don't want to get into Emilia Clarkes' comic book because I have something coming in. I've actually talked to my wife, and she is willing to see. She has no clue what she's going to be looking at. I told her I have an article about a comic book made by a woman, supposed to be geared to a woman. This is Emilia Clarkes' period comic book of her superhero that gets her powers from her period and swings by her armpit hair. If I can get my wife to continue to agree to it, because she may decide to change her mind, I'm going to have her read through the article so she can see how people are targeting and get basically the target audience. This is the new target audience. They want normie women and just women in general to read more comic books. Well, we're going to see what your target audience says. Okay, Emily? Also, Marvel, DC, all of y'all trying to get that vagina audience, those vagina bucks. Yeah, we're going to have a talk with the people you're trying to get to. So be sure to look for that video coming up. Anyway, Emilia Clarkes here is pushing this entire narrative that comic shops, that for some reason, women have been pushed out of the industry. They've been gatekept out of it. And now, all of a sudden, back since 2017, they have just now started to break into the comic industry. It's now supposed to become more accepting of women and everything else. That's not the case. And the oddest place that you're going to find this at is in an old comic book or not a comic actually, this is a cartoon from the 1990s. This is Pepper Ann. Was pushed by Disney. And Pepper Ann was a show about a young adolescent teenage girl just about hitting puberty and her life as a 7th grader. I shit you not, this was a pretty good show back in the day. I'm not kidding, because it actually dealt with real problems. It was centered towards girls, but it dealt with girl problems. And it dealt with adolescent child problems in that weird stage of being a teenager. There's actually an episode on there where Pepper Ann misinterprets what the school wants as support from being the buddy system to being her having a bra, and finally in a fit of rage because because no one's on the same page and they're telling her they don't see her support, she lifts up her shirt and flashes her tits to the entire school. You don't see anything, but I remember watching that thinking, wow, that's crazy. You'd never see shit like that nowadays. But this is a comic book that was put out by Disney back in the day called Discovery, I believe is what it was called. And it was basically like a small Archie comics, sort of like Archie Digest, but it was sort of a informative magazine that was given out by or sold by Disney to talk about stuff. And they would talk about several different things. You know, they'd interview Shaquille O'Neal. They'd talk about all the new cartoons coming up. And it was written in such a way that a 12 to even a 7-year-old could read it and understand what was going on. I learned about Batman Beyond, Disney's The Lion Guard. That has actually been in the works for a long time. That's when I found out about it, was from the Discovery. They have actually been trying to build a series called The Lion Guard from way on back in the 2010s. They were attempting to do that. And they've just now brought The Lion Guard in the last 2 or 3 years. The fruits of that labor have now been brought to Disney, if any of y'all have seen it. But Pepper Ann was a Disney cartoon. It was brought in. And the one thing about Discovery was Disney would put comics in the back of the book, because that back then they understood what entertained kids. So they put these comics back in there of their characters in their TV shows. And this was a way of promoting them. Captain Jack Sparrow got a comic book series in here. Many of the shows that they would do. I don't even know if I don't know if the magazine still exists. But I'd hate to see what's in it now. Let's just say I'd hate to see the shit that's in it now after everything's been politicized. But this is Pepper Ann going to a comic shop. Now, what happens in this is quite simple. Pepper Ann's basically talking about what's happened. She's talking about this from her point of view. But the cool thing about this book is you see her point of view, but you're also at the same time seeing the reality of what's happening. And as Fourth Age often mentions, reality is something that the SJW hates to deal with. Reality constantly smacks down their stupidity, and you're going to see it within this book, which came out in 1998, I believe. So this would be 1 year after Pepper Ann had aired. Mind you, the show went from 1997 to 2000 before it was canceled. So, continuing on, Pepper Ann, it starts like most comic books, you know. Pepper Ann's entering a comic book shop and she's explaining how she went into a very uncomfortable situation. Pepper Ann had a tendency to over-exaggerate stuff. I often wonder if she wasn't like a satirical take on feminism back in the day. But you see on down here, it's like, you know, she's out there, she's minding her own business. Now, here's the problem I have to do here at the moment. I have to jump because my phone didn't put the comic in properly. I didn't put it in the right order. So anyway, they're sitting in here, and she comes downstairs to her, I believe this was her sister, who just kind of looked like a tomboy. And the kid's down there, you know, he's laughing. Moose's friend here is laughing at the comic book because they called it the Ice Creaminal. And Pepper Ann gets ticked off, comes downstairs, gives him the rap about her being a 7th grader, and jumps all over him to the point where it kind of freaks the kid out. I suppose this kid has autism because he doesn't do confrontation very well. that is an autistic trait. So anyway, Moose and them take off. And so Pepper Ann, after they take off, she decides she's going to sit down and read a comic book with superheroes in it. So this is how most comic book readers get started. This is actually a common thing. You would find comic books from your older brother. You would start reading them. If you were good and didn't color all in them, like some young kids do, your brother or whoever, brother's friend, would probably sit down with you and explain to you what these characters were and get you interested in the medium, in the hobby. So anyway, after this happens, you know, she's thoroughly engrossed in the comic book, to the point you got satirical takes on the Hulk, the Human Torch, looks like maybe a Jubilee rogue combination down here at the bottom. And, you know, it's like regular comic books. It's heroes fighting a villain trying to save the world. And what happens is, like most comics, it ends on a cliffhanger. Pepper Ann's freaked out, and so she has to figure out, she has to know how it ends, okay? And you've been engrossed in this story. It's like getting The Lord of the Rings, but someone only gives you the first 2 books. You only get to the 2 towers. You don't get to read the rest. You don't get to read The Return of the King. And so you're like, I gotta find The Return of the King. A lot of ebook novelists do this. They'll give you like the first 2 or 3 books for free or at a very low price. Do the first one for free and the others will be lower price. Then they'll gradually step up in price as you go on because you get engrossed in the story. You are going to buy several of them. So yeah, they make good money at this. So Pepper Ann takes off running on down the street trying to find Crash. She doesn't know the kid's name. She tells him she's sorry for his tittering, and she wants to know, she's trying to figure out how the comic book ends, because she's thoroughly engrossed in the story, because, newsflash, comic books back in the day were really good. Continuing on, she ends up outside Dr. Explode's closet, which is the comic shop of this group. And this is a theme that was in Pepper Ann. She would have a conversation with her own reflection. And it goes down to the point of her own insecurities are telling her that she is not going to be allowed in there. This horrid concept comes up to the mind, this horrid fantasy with zero evidence, mind you. There is no evidence to back up this is what will happen. But she has this big fear that she's going to be attacked when she gets in there, that they're going to go after her, because all she wants to do is just buy a book the whole time. They're going to hit her with all this. They're going to give her the Jeopardy effect, in which they're going to trivia her on every single thing about the comic book industry. They're going to try and tear her apart, you know, flaunt their superior knowledge of the hobby, which is something an SJW would do in the process. So after all of this, going through this entire nonsense, and, you know, freaking herself out to the point, she decides to come up with an idea. She's just going to basically go in, pretend she's a guy, get in, grab a book, and get out. And this is where the book takes a fun turn. She goes in to the comic book shop, and what happens? The guy behind the counter says, "Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Dr. Explode's closet." She's like, "Thanks. Looking at comics now I am." That's supposed to be in a low voice. And the reason is she's doing this because she thinks everything's going to freak out. Reality, most of the guys in the comic shop are just kind of looking at her like, okay, new guy. Let's feel this guy out. This is something that happens in comic shops. People will do their own thing, and they'll kind of wait you out and feel you out. They'll see what you pick up because they don't want to embarrass themselves. People tend to read that situation wrong. Most of it is the guy behind the counter usually be really nice to you. Also, here's a blast of the past. Remember Pogs? Milk caps? Yes, I remember that. So anyway, Pepper Ann is sitting in there and she's freaking out, and someone comes over and says, "Coolish." You know, they're trying to help out. And then they're basically doing what they normally do. Some of them are coming up talking about the comic. One guy's saying, "Dude, shut up. Guy hasn't read the new one yet." Basically like, don't ruin the comic book. Mind you, no one's attacking Pepper Ann. No one's doing anything stupid. They're just saying, "Oh, you know, I didn't like this." And the other guy's like, hey. You're the guy that ruins all the movies, okay? Don't ruin this. This is a new person buying a book. We've never seen them before, and they haven't read it yet. So they probably want to know what it's like. All of us have read it, but they're here to buy it. Pepper Ann is noticing something crazy here. A little girl walks in. So can you just figure out what this situation's going to come down to? we end up in what every feminist wishes to have happen, that they could jump in there and save some little kid. And so she comes in, the kid says, "Do you have Fuzzy Comics number 328? And the guy behind the counter goes, In his mind, he's thinking, how did this trash get here? Because he's running a business. He does not want his business to look like a pigsty. It doesn't need to look like, it needs to look clean, crisp, and professional. Comic shops did this back in the day. You'd see guys would polish the counters. You didn't want to walk into a shop that was, more dirty than it had to be. Pepper Ann screams, jumps into the path. The guy is in the process of saying, "I think we have a," meaning he's about to help the customer out, which is what he's doing. Also, SJWs, this is what's called customer service, all right? You don't judge the person, you just simply tell them, you take the information they give you and you try to give them what they want. He's in the process of doing this. Then Pepper Ann jumps in the way. "Don't say anything, not a word," freaks out the little kid. And here we go into where this comic's a little bit of a satirical on feminism. "I'm not going to let you torture this little kid with your test just because she's a girl in a comic store, because I'm a girl too. I thought I could sneak in here, get my comic and go, but I was a fraud and I hid who I was because I didn't want any trouble. Well, no more. I want trouble. I am trouble. I am female. And you can't keep us out. If you strike me down, others will take my place. Girls in comic stores, get used to it, mister. You can't stop us." I paid for my comic and left. I had changed a lot over the course of that historic afternoon. Historic. So here's the fun part. If this were a feminist-centric comic, the book would end right here. This is how Marvel Comics would have ended. They'd ended right here. However, this continues on to what the reality was after she left. The guys are kind of, they're kind of smitten. They actually liked the idea of a chick in the comic shop. You read through here. "She looked like Dino Girl from the Y-Men. She had the force of will of Xenia, a warrior woman. Nah, she was a goddess like Acedia, Queen of Venus. You think she knows I love her?" Nobody cared. Nobody was even interesting. So here's the situation that happens here with the little girl. And this is the best part about this comic. Guy behind the counter. "Here's the stuff you reserved last week, Andrea. You were looking for Fuzzy number 328? And she replies, "Yeah." Then she replies, "Wow, Freddie, your customers are getting weirder every day." Meaning she's a regular. This is the girl. This is the comic girl. The woman that's in the comic industry who's been here for a long time. And Pepper Ann's the weird feminist. She's Emilia Clarkes coming in here believing all this bullshit from the outside. Bigotedly, mind you. And trying to scream and yell that the comic industry, it's not been for women and we're going to make it for women and everything else. In reality, most of the guy behind the counter who runs the shop is like, everybody's money's good here, darling. If you wanna buy a book, we don't care. As long as product is moving off the shelves and cash is going in my pocket, I don't give a damn I don't care if you walk in a clown suit. If you will buy, as long as you don't pay him monopoly money, I don't give a shit. This is the difference here. This is what comics used to be back in the day, mind you, back in the 90s. Yeah, so this is just sort of. This was kind of interesting when I saw the whole Emilia Clarke thing with her period superhero nonsense, and I thought, I remember a comic back in the day that kind of blew this entire argument out of the water, and was a symbol of what comics were actually like. This is what the industry has always been in this last panel. People who don't care, different groups. You look here, you've got two white dudes, probably a black guy, and some dude looks like he's an Asian kid, and they don't care. They're united because they like comic books. They're united by the hobby. This little girl in here probably talks with these guys on a daily basis. She comes in, she's getting her pull list, mind you. This is the girl's pull list. This little girl with pigtails, she's got a pull list going on. She's paying for extra comic books. She's a regular fan. And this is what they're trying, this is what feminism is saying. Emily Clark and all the SJWs and the white knights for Emily Clark, mind you, are sitting on the internet thinking they're somehow saving and supporting this person when this girl's more than capable of handling herself. Any woman who's already been in the comic industry is more than capable of handling herself. And the idea that that women are being pushed out is nothing but a facade. It is one of those things that, feminism, it's kind of like my wife says. My wife says, yes, I am a feminist. This is what she's told me before. She said, I am a feminist. She said, and I believe that women do need rights. However, I believe we have also achieved the goal of obtaining those rights. We can have cars. We can go down the street. We can vote. We can hold a job. We have a right to work. We can be a head of corporations. Women have done this already. We've proven that we can do it, and do it as equally as a man can. We've also proven that we're responsible with our rights. In my opinion, feminism has accomplished its goal and is no longer necessary. And this is what's going on. Feminism right now does not have anything to stand on. It doesn't have a bully. It doesn't have a villain or a dragon. And so they're making up a villain to go destroy. They're doing this with movies. They do this with comic books. They've done this with video games. They're now attempting to do this with manga. Attempting to say that manga is sexist and male-centric. And they're trying to go in there and fight the male gaze, as they like to say. In reality, they're making shit up to make themselves feel better. Because at the end of the day, they're a group of cowards who are afraid of new things and new ideas and different opinions. Anyway, folks, I'm the Last Raider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. Remember, I'm also putting all this up on Twitter, so you can read through this comic yourself if you want. And as always, stay safe, stay frosty. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.